Hey everybody, this is Chris Behrensmeyer. This week on The Gaming Outsider, I will be talking with Chris Owens about video games and significant others for a special Valentine's Day episode. We will also be discussing Seventh Sector on Xbox and Skyrogue on Xbox as well. This is The Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to episode 281 of The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community. It's Monday, February 10th, and this week we will be discussing video games with our significant others and whether or not that's a good or bad thing. As always, I'm your host, Chris Behrensmeyer. Seems a little odd this week. Unfortunately, Scott Clark is under the weather and Zach had some technical issues, so I'm in command this week. Joining me is my good buddy and a man who's excited for the upcoming Midwest Gaming Classic, Mr. Chris Owens. How you doing, bud?
Squee! I do a squee for MGC. Squee for MGC.
Oh, man. That is quite excitement there.
I have become a master negotiator in your favor, sir.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. Kind of winding down some stuff. So we'll see what I can come up with and find this year. So
as you're winding down, I am ramping up.
Well, I'm winding down one collection, so
I'm ramping up mine. I'm excited. I've been starting to hunt for old school Mega Man gear, and this will be the year that I can start to make some headway.
Good. So we'll see what we can't find you.
Absolutely.
I want to first and foremost throw a shout out to, we had a Rocket League kind of get together with the community over the weekend. I was unfortunately not able to play, so I can't really comment on it too much, but I know some of the people that did play had some fun with it. So how about you? Did you play any with everybody?
Sadly, no. I had some weekend plans with the better half, as it usually happens, but I'll make sure I catch it on the next one.
Yeah, I know how that goes. So, well, let's kind of hop into the video game news for this week. First off, we have a story. Rod Ferguson is leaving the Gears franchise. He's been with the Coalition and Gears since its inception in 2006, and he took over in 2014 when Microsoft bought the IP. He is leaving the Coalition, though, for supposedly greener pastures with Blizzard, so he's going to be overseeing production on Diablo 4, which at this time doesn't have a release date, but I'm excited for that. What do you think this means for the Gears franchise, Chris?
This is a big deal. This is a man that led the way and has been there since day one. So this is quite a shock to the system for the Gears franchise, but hopefully I would like to think that the franchise has its own momentum, has its own following, and has become such a staple, especially to the Xbox community, that it can carry on its own momentum and keep its quality up at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I know Gears 5 got some mixed reviews internally from us. I was a big fan of it.
I enjoyed it.
So I know some of the open world stuff wasn't as big a hit as I thought. Some people loved it. I liked it. So I still think there's a lot of love left in that franchise. And even with Rod leaving, I still think they're going to be able to soldier on and put out a good product.
Soldier on.
Yeah.
Nice.
I will say I'm really excited to see what he can do with the Diablo franchise. I mean, I loved 2 and 3. So with somebody like Rod kind of helming the way for them, that could potentially lead to some big and bright things for them.
Forgive the somewhat accidental alliteration, but I have not dabbled in Diablo.
Ooh.
So, but from what I've seen and from what I have experienced, that if he can bring that momentum into an already established franchise, that could be really interesting.
it definitely has some potential. I'm more excited for the fact that there's a Diablo 4 in the works. So I played the crap out of 3. So
I think Scott had a shout out to Scott for not feeling well, but I hope you feel better. I wanted to put that out there myself. But that he played the heck out of it, especially with D.A. Cheney, loyal member of the community.
Oh yeah.
And I remember him going through several playthroughs. So I know he'd be thrilled to see this.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe he'll bring back cow level. I'll be excited for that. So, kind of moving along, we have some other potentially exciting news. The Ubisoft CEO states that next gen could feature almost all previous consoles' back catalog. I just finished actually reading through this article. Games going back to the Xbox and PS1, the original Xbox, may be playable. Xbox may have an advantage in this given its large library of previous gen games. I mean, for me, I've played quite a few of these older ones, and the potential that some of these are going to be brought back to the forefront, especially with all the Tom Clancy games, or for achievement hunters like the CSI games. I'm like super excited for this. We also had like Myst 3, Myst 4. So there's the possibility that even those could get brought in. So, I mean, do you think that this could hurt some next gen prospects with the fact that they're going to be focusing on bringing a lot of these old titles back?
I think it's a idea and a concept that shouldn't be brought up right now when we're talking next gen. Because when I'm thinking next gen, I'm not thinking previous gen. I want to see what's next, what's advanced, what makes this better, what am I committing a large amount of my financial chunkage to? And that's nice to see that, because eventually it's going to have that nostalgic thought. And you have it in spades, CB, don't get me wrong, that you had that desire to roll back to your previous collection, games that you've enjoyed, games that you have not been able to play yet. I don't think this is a advantageous moment to bring up something like this. It's huge. Don't get me wrong, because you're going back, 5 generations and 25 years to bring this content back in, but it doesn't help for what's coming up.
I can see where you're kind of coming with that, but at the same time, I also feel that this for me is a actually huge selling point for next gen consoles, because the availability to have this massive back catalog added in, like now I won't have to go dig out like my PS1 or PS2 or original Xbox to play a lot of these older games. So the idea that having this just at the ready whenever is kind of big for people like me. And I know there are some people out there. Granted, there are a lot of people that like, oh, backwards compatibility, cool gimmick guy, but I'm more or less kind of very excited for it.
Well, I'm not saying it's a bad feature. I think that's a great feature. I just think the timing of it is goofy. Let's see what's next, and then capitalize on the fact that you didn't waste X amount of dollars for all this content on these previous gen consoles. It's nice to hear on the front that from what I'm playing now will be playable there, and specifically Ubisoft, but anybody else that may come down the pipe and hasn't already, and even back to my 360. But to go this far back, okay, that's nice to hear that, but I guess it's a balancing act. You would hear so much of this catalog that, hey, if this can go all the way back and you can play it, great, but it's not making me excited for the future, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the same time, with the fact that Microsoft's come out and said that they're going to not have any first-party titles for like a year after launch.
Right.
So the availability
Scott and I were talking about it over the weekend. We just had that conversation.
Yeah, so the availability of having some of these massive back catalogs that are going to be possibly playable on the next generation, to me, kind of opens that window like, hey, I didn't get a chance to play this back then, and while I'm waiting for some stuff to come out, I can check out some of this older stuff. Especially if they somehow tie it in to like games with gold or Game Pass Ultimate, I think there's a potential huge share there. I mean, even if Ubisoft does their own like streaming thing similar to Game Pass.
How you had mentioned that the fact that the Xbox has such a huge library of these with Game Pass, games with gold, and quite frankly, the PlayStation has almost nothing for availability to players in that area, free to play. However you go about it, I think in the upcoming console wars, because that's going to fire up again, that's a huge shot in the arm for Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of potential for this. I'm actually like really excited for it. I actually hope a lot more developers decide to do this. Like bringing back some of the older games. Like I would love to see, like a lot of the old Tony Hawk games, like 1, 2, 3.
Yes,
be brought back.
Play the heck out of those.
So, I mean, the fact that we have one company already committing to the fact that like, hey, we want to bring this to the forefront.
A big company with a sizable library.
They do have a sizable library, but at the same time, for a few years there, Ubisoft was kind of like the king of shovelware. So
everybody was at some point.
Yeah,
they kind of shy away from that. But I agree with you on talking about timing again, but kind of capitalizing your point there, Chris, is I too hope that other companies would even take advantage of this too, because that again, shot in the arms for those companies and also shot in the arms for the libraries to come in. But again, I just don't want to see it take too much away from what this can do next. I mean, you said it already. Scott and I had this exact same conversation. Like, okay, we're not going to buy Series X right away because I'm more on the Xbox side than PlayStation. Because if nothing exclusive is coming out for a year, what am I going to waste my money on if I could play it on what I have now? But this gives you that, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to miss out too much on my past if I can jump on this now. And like you, I hope other companies can do that. And the fact that that Ubisoft announced this now and we have just shy of a year before the release, that it gives time for the other developers to follow suit.
Well, I mean, one of the nice things about a lot of these older titles is how quickly they can be ported over. Because, I mean, you look at like Switch, how quickly they're porting some of this stuff over. I think with some of the older titles, there's the possibility that it may not be as difficult to port them. So there is a little bit of give and take there. So granted, it's not brand new stuff, but it's stuff that a lot of current gamers haven't had a chance to play.
I'd like to think, and in my professional field of work, I know this is a pipe dream, that they have ironed out those port wrinkles and going across these platforms have a similar type of programming that makes it easier because they know it, because they've had generations to kind of not clear the decks, but to press on and hopefully build on those platforms that they've been able to port from. And this is something similar that they can work with and crank it out that much faster. Again, an IT pipe dream. Don't get me wrong. That rarely happens.
Yeah.
But there's hope.
Well, I mean, at the same time with a lot of the older games where when playing them for us, when like we played them growing up, where some of the games were like broken. And now when you port them, like you could fix some of the things.
Right.
I actually just watched a video on, what was it? The Lion King game where on Super Nintendo, it like there were actually things that were broken with it, but then you play the Genesis version and they were fixed. So seeing some of these older games where they were not necessarily games for you because there was problems with them, but with them being ported to new generation consoles, maybe they could fix some of these issues and they could become an enjoyable game. That's
interesting. I'd like to see if I can't think of like an extra broken game that I could get into and spot that, but I hope they take advantage.
Yeah. So there's possibility for it. I'd like to see it come to fruition.
Yes.
So we do have one more news story, and
do tell.
It's slightly gaming related. For a while now, there's been the rumor of a Resident Evil TV show that's being made by Netflix, and they posted some details about it and then removed it. Netflix did post a description of a Resident Evil TV show on their media center and then removed it very quickly. The description stated that the town of Clearfield, Maryland, has long stood in the shadow of three seemingly unrelated behemoths: the Umbrella Corporation, the decommissioned Greenwood Asylum, and Washington, D.C. Today, 26 years after the discovery of the T virus, secrets held by the three will start to be revealed at the first signs of an outbreak. Joining Castlevania and The Witcher, does this excite you at all? So,
me personally, I saw a lot of the Castlevania series on Netflix. I actually enjoyed it. I did not finish it, sadly. I haven't started The Witcher yet. And I like that Netflix is taking advantage of the gaming community in this type of format to try to put out that quality content. Have you seen The Witcher?
I've seen a couple episodes. Every time I sit down to start watching it, I get distracted. So
does it, from what you've seen, does it hold the story or keep the spirit of the gaming series?
It holds more true to the book series than the game series.
Okay.
But Henry Cavill is an excellent Geralt. And it does feel very much like that character in that universe.
Mm-hmm.
So I do enjoy it. It's just I get very distracted, ADD and whatnot. So,
well, have you seen Castlevania?
No, I haven't.
I have.
I know we've talked about it before on the show, but I've lost some of my faith in some of the Netflix series, like watching Bleach and Death Note, where I'm like, these are bad. So
that's not shovelware, that's shovel watch.
They
shovel it in the users' mouths. I watched the Castlevania series. Again, I enjoyed it. I didn't find much to parallel with the games. I think it was very, very dark anime, very enjoyable dark anime, but I'm not, given as hardcore as I am about the Castlevania series, I don't think it was very parallel, if you will. I thought I kept a darker tone. I'm not saying it strayed from it completely, but it wasn't as parallel as I would have liked to see it. And as far as Resident Evil is concerned, we have the movie franchise. I thought it was a great franchise. I don't know if you need this. I mean, it's not not a great franchise. You can wipe that the forgive me, Zach, smirk off your face.
Ugh.
But it has a following, I guess, is my point. So, and as many went 4 or 5 movies deep?
6
movies deep?
Six or 7 now? Something like that?
Is a series necessary?
Well, here's my biggest takeaways from this. The first Resident Evil and the second one were okay. Beyond that, it just got to the point of ridiculousness, which some people enjoy. I mean, we all can't be fans of bad movie series like Fast and the Furious.
Shots fired.
But I take away some big things from reading this description. It's in the town of Clearfield, Maryland, which anybody who knows the Resident Evil franchise, everything is kind of based at Raccoon City. So it's kind of cool that they're trying to branch out from the original series, but at the same time, if there's not a callback to Raccoon City somehow, I'm going to be a little disappointed. This supposedly takes place 26 years after the discovery of the T virus, which basically wipes out the the movie series.
It'd be basically a wasteland, would it not?
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how they're going to go about that. Granted, I love the idea of the setting in an asylum with the Umbrella Corporation and Washington, D.C. But at the same time, I think people are starting to get a little burned out on the zombie craze.
See, hearing you read it like that, the description talking about 26 years later, etc., Walking Dead immediately came into my brain, and that is completely wearing out its welcome.
Yeah, granted, I was a fan of the show and the comic books, but I think after the first season of Fear the Walking Dead, I stopped watching, even though supposedly a lot of people say that it has its merits to it.
Right.
I'm just kind of burned out on zombies, man. I want something different.
It's been so saturated over the last 15 years plus that yes, I agree that there's way too much supply and the demand is starting to wane.
Yeah, and I mean, growing up, I was a huge fan of George Romero's work. So like the original Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead,
Yep.
Loved those. And then you look towards like the latter ones on that series, Land of the Dead and whatnot. I was kind of like, I'm bored.
And then you have the flicks 28 days later, 28 weeks later, and it's just kind of churning them out, you know?
Yeah, but 28 days later and 28 weeks later to me were kind of a revitalization for that. They took it in a different route. Mm-hmm. I was a bigger fan of those than a lot of the other stuff being put out. So I guess, like I said, I'm more or less kind of burned out on zombies. I hope Netflix puts out something really good and kind of brings me back into the zombie fold.
Right.
But I feel that there are other monsters that we could be doing these days. Granted, they're trying to bank in on Resident Evil, and so here's to hoping it's good.
But if it didn't come fruition, you wouldn't miss much. You'd be go, eh.
Yeah, I have a feeling
it wouldn't cry a river.
This is going to be a one season kind of thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So at least that's my opinion. I hope they prove me wrong. So, but other than that, I think that's kind of what we have for the news this week. So let's just jump into a little housekeeping before we get to our community topic.
I have a question, CB.
Yes.
What's going on with the Retro Outsider?
Retro Outsider, we do have our TV game show stuff episode, which we recently recorded. We talked about Double Dare, American Gladiators, Funhouse, The Lone Ranger. So some of those were good. Some of them were bad.
You were brave souls.
Yes, we were. Still trying to nail down a date to record our VR episode. I do have 6 games that I just completed for February stuff. So just getting everybody together to record those. So there's a good possibility you could see up to 3 episodes this month for Patreon. I want to say thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers. You're one of the reasons we get to keep doing this kind of thing. Everything that you send to us, we make sure to put back out to you guys, whether it be game giveaways or whatnot. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I love you all. So other than that, no patrons this week. You can sign up, patreon.com. Check us out. Little bit of love goes a long way. So speaking of love, let's get into our from the outside in topic. This week is Valentine's Day.
Oh,
yeah. Which means the two of us and most of our other listeners are pressured to buy jewelry and flowers or chocolate for our wives, just so Hallmark can make some extra money for the month of February.
It is way too much pressure.
With that said, we do love our significant others, and since it is the month of love, we thought we'd talk about gaming with our significant others. So I don't know about you, but are you lucky enough to have a wife that likes to play games? And if so, what does she like to play? And do you guys like play together at all?
We do, and it's mostly the Mario genre, Mario Kart, Mario Worlds. She likes the older arcade stuff because it's simpler. Her multifunctional dexterity when it comes to open worlds and first-person shooters isn't quite her cup of tea. So anytime we can go to a barcade or any kind of retro site that we can play games like that together, we do.
Okay.
We're not overly collaborative when we play. I think I mentioned this in episodes past, but every time we would play Super Mario Wii and Super Mario Wii U, and we're on the screen together, I keep yelling at her to go after the question blocks or jump over that thing, and I get like really sorry, no, over the thing over there. And then I keep moving. I want to keep moving along, so I keep killing her off screen, and she comes in on the bubble. So I'm not a great comrade for loving video games myself. She does like to watch when I play, especially story heavy games, but she loves to point stuff out. She's like, why aren't you grabbing that? Why aren't you getting that? Why aren't you getting that? And I'm like, I don't need to play a video game to hear this kind of stuff. Overall, it's if we find a good game that we can enjoy together, we play it.
Okay. I mean, that's understandable. Luckily, you have a significant other that likes to play games.
Uh-huh.
So, for those of you who follow me on any form of social media, you know that my wife hates with a capital H video games.
No, that's with a capital hate, CB.
Yeah. That's with a capital H. I'm not going to emphasize the whole word. I mean,
we love you, Rose.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember she does allow me to have a room dedicated to video games. So, but yeah, man, I think the only games that she'll ever play with me is the Jackbox games, and even then it has to be in a party setting. But she will refuse to play any of the games where you have to draw.
Really?
Oh yeah,
those are the best ones, especially in a crowd.
Hates
really?
It.
Wow.
She's actually gotten to the point that she won't even play board games with me anymore. So
why? What is it too competitive or too complex?
Yeah, we tend to get very competitive on it, and I think the last we haven't played a game of Monopoly probably in 8 years.
Oh dear.
So it gets a little heated whenever we play board games because we are both competitive and she doesn't like to lose. I'm just better at games than she is. So
oh dear. Oh, another shot fired. Ah.
Yeah, so unfortunately it's just the nature of the beast.
All right, fair enough.
But she's better at English and math than I am, so I'll give her that.
There you go.
So, we also asked our community the same question just to see what they would chime in. So we'll start with Facebook, and I'll let you read the first one.
Well, our very own Christy Flores, we love you, Christy. She says video games is one of the things, and she's talking about her and her significant other. Video games is one of the things that brings us closer together. It started just as best friends and a major love of the Zelda franchise, but it's grown to so much more. We're slowly working on playing through all the Zelda games together. When the Switch released NES Online, we started virtual date nights playing Mario Golf. We expanded to more retro games playing Hot Shots Golf, Everybody's Golf, Minecraft, Mario 64, and just the other night, we went way back and played Tony Hawk Pro Skater. All the love for the retro games. The fact that we can share our favorite games together is incredible. Whether it's playing together multiplayer, pass a controller, virtually, or even just sitting in the same room playing games separately, it's something that we bond over. That, I think, is very sweet. And the fact that she has somebody that has that deep love with her, I think is, I don't want to say rare, but special. And it's really cool that they can really go that deep together.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous. So
I am too a bit. I am. I mean, my wife and I, we're more of a great TV series or a movie, and we'll just we'll discuss it and have theories and conspiracies and get into that kind of thing. I am a little sad that it's not the same for the gaming world.
Yeah, I think Rose and I are the same way. It's very much movies. So, but then again, halfway through the movie, she'll usually pick up a book and start reading. So
I keep telling you this, the four of us need to hang out more. It's we're like peas in a pod, I swear.
Well, I mean, you guys do only live a few blocks away from me.
I know. That's on me. Thanks. Next.
So, Nick Brown. Hard no. Wife doesn't play video or board games. Have tried, but just not something she enjoys doing. Man, I feel you. I feel you real bad.
Doesn't sound like it was a lack of effort, that's for sure.
Nope. Not at all. So,
Well, Josh Sislow chimed in and said, wife pretends to if others are, but that is not what she likes. She also does not enjoy how much I like them. She tolerates it at best. That's not a bad situation to be in. I mean, she definitely seems to humor him, not to get all Dr. Ruthian on video games here, but that's nice that she tolerates it enough to implore him and be in on the action.
Yeah. So, I mean, I will say there's been times where I'll play certain games and Rose will just watch. I think it was like Assassin's Creed Unity. She actually enjoyed just like watching me walk around Paris.
Yeah.
So I guess it's more or less I just haven't found the right game. So,
last time I was on here, I'm still trying to finish Control. And this was the last one she watched me play. And she was fascinated with everything that was going around me like I was. But the problem was she kept asking, what's going on? What's this? Why are you doing this? And I told her, I said, honey, I'm trying to figure that out myself. So that's a bad example of trying to tell somebody, well, you're this person trying to go do this thing and this is what happens in between. That was not a good one to try to get a story out of me when I was trying to figure it out myself.
Yeah, I can see that. Joel Selinsky chimes in with, my wife has no interest in video games. We do play board games and whatnot, but that's about it. She has no issues with me playing, though, and it gives us our me time. That's definitely kind of how my relationship goes. I have my little man cave I sneak down to, so.
Yeah, they got to find those bonding points, and that seems like a decent one. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Bill Gardner says that she's one of those, I don't play video games, but has a bunch of Disney clicker games on her phone, people. Preach, Bill. My wife has that too. She's a huge fan of the Diner Dash type games. And first ones that we first got together, she played the heck out of on my old PC. Now that they've come to phones, she can't stop. There's this, I forget the name of the game, but there's this one that is episodic, and they keep bringing out new levels. And every time she plays them too fast, she has to wait for days to get new levels in there. And I just kind of have to look at her. I myself, being a tech guy, and kind of look at her and say, are you watching the show with me, or you play your clicker game? She's like, yeah, I'm watching. And she's on her phone. Yeah, I'm watching. Oh, what? What happened? So I hear you loud and clear, Bill. We're in the same genre there.
Yeah, Rose won't even play phone games. She has no games on her phone. None.
That's a shock. Everybody's got at least one.
Nope, not even Solitaire.
Not Rose.
Not even Solitaire.
Not even Tetris?
Nope, nothing.
That's criminal.
Told you, man, she hates games.
Oy.
So, Chip Halt says, we don't play together all that much anymore. Modern controllers confuse her. However, she does watch when I play story games. I had to wait for her to play the last third of Days Gone. In the past, we had played a ton of WoW together. We also used to play Battletoads and co-op on NES. That was a hard game, never finished it. I've come close to finishing that game. So, I really need to sit down and actually finish that one. But yeah, I mean, I would really love for Rose to have more of a love for retro games, because I would love nothing more than to just sit on the couch on a Saturday night with her and just plug in my NES and just play through some old games, even Mario, just something simple that we could both just have fun, pass the controller with.
Well, now that I'm getting older, I find that the retro games are starting to attack me back a little bit, that my dexterity is waning some. So it would be an interesting balance out now that that's happening. I'd like to see how that turns out.
Yeah.
Well, Alan Scheck tells us, my wife doesn't think she likes video games and is rarely interested when I suggest it, but when she actually sits down to play them, she gets really into it. That, combined with the fact that she's usually pretty bad at them, is actually really funny. We've had several people tell us that she should start a YouTube channel or something. So far, she's mostly only played Rock Band, Portal, and Super Smash Mario Brothers. Well, yeah. That's an interesting blend that she dedicated herself to. I don't know what the channel would be. It was what, wife plays video games badly or something like that.
I'd watch it.
I that would be interesting. It's almost like what, Conan's channel.
Yeah,
when he's playing games for the first time. That would be an interesting watch.
Man, I would actually like to watch like people's significant others who's like never played games play Portal for the first time.
Ooh.
Just because that game can be such like a mind warp.
Mm-hmm.
So I
absolutely.
Yeah, I think that would be a really fun one to watch. And props to any significant other that's like, I'm gonna play some Rock Band with you guys. So
absolutely.
Sean Coates, despite my best efforts, my girlfriend isn't what you'd call an avid gamer. Of the few we play together, they are more along the casual variety, but she loves Mario Kart, the Raving Rabbids series on Wii, Guitar Hero. She's quite good at DDR. I've been able to help her expand her horizons lately whenever we go to game conventions if they have an arcade area. Yeah. I do kind of feel that there's the bar up in Milwaukee that we've gone to, Up Down.
Yes.
Rose actually does enjoy going to those. I think just adding some liquid courage kind of opens up the portal to playing some of the arcade games.
I see what you did there. I like it.
Yeah. So I
smell a double date coming up, brother.
Hey, I'm down, man.
Especially
with the fact that we got Tilt opening up. So
there we go.
See, and I will say she does love like going over to Nickel World and playing some of the ticket redemption games.
Oh yeah. Every time we go to like Dave & Buster's and the I don't know, is it still called 257 in Woodfield?
I think it's Pac-Man Entertainment now.
Is it Pac-Man Entertainment? Why? Anyhow, she loves doing those too, and for the same reason. And number one, she loves to compete with me, and number two, to combine our prizes for our 1,200 tickets for a nightlight.
get a little Pac-Man nightlight.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we got a bunch of love on the Discord channel, too. As a matter of fact, Thomas Beck said that his partner is a big Sims fan, and he really doesn't get that game, so that's something we play together. But she did start playing Marvel Strike Force because Thomas, was kind of obsessed with that game, and she's been doing pretty well there. She's also shown an interest in adventure games, so I'm going to slowly introduce her to them and maybe try some couch co-op. So he seems to be leading her along a little bit as far as, so kind of slowly integrating her in. So I like to see that path he's going down with her.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe you can get her into some point and click adventures, Thomas, because I know you love those things.
Oh, I think he'd be the ultimate guide on those. So that would be a great idea.
Well, I actually think for getting someone into video games that's not necessarily into video games, a lot of like the story driven games would be like a great starting point.
You know, Tanya loved the Telltales. Tanya loved playing Telltale games. She actually played a lot more of them than I did, especially The Walking Dead, because she's a huge fan of the series like we talked about earlier. And she loved the story. She was very engaged with it. So I think even for somebody like her who's not big on, like I said, the complex dexterity that controls can have these days, to be able to get into something like that and enjoy them.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. So David Newman, I wish she played games in general, but at least she is supportive to an extent of my hobby. So man, any significant other that supports your hobby is a winner, man. Like, agreed. Like,
if they don't have to get into it and they don't, tear it down on a regular basis, that's a win.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that Rose stayed with me, because when we first started dating, I was heavy into my WoW days. So it was come home from work, hop on WoW, raid for like 4-5 hours, go to bed, rinse and repeat. So
I think the award for most straight up brutal honesty goes to CJ Moore. He says, does being passive aggressive count as a game? Because she's pro league. My wife does not play video games. I appreciate that brutality. It's something that we need more of these days.
Yeah. Our very own Nate Lucas,
shout out,
chimes in with, my wife doesn't care about games, but she does enjoy Mario Kart. She's pretty good. So
take what you can get.
Yeah. Everything's a small win when it comes to your significant other. I mean, happy having a happy significant other definitely makes life a lot easier. So,
well, we got Drew Ross, who seems to have found a pretty good one in his better half, saying that my wife likes gaming, just doesn't play Xbox One much. She enjoys playing our son's 3DS more. We've co-op Borderlands 2 recently and also tried out Overcooked. That's a game I recommend with your significant other. I want to play that so bad, and I know Tiny get into it too.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to give that one a whirl.
That's just on Switch, is it not?
I have Overcooked 2 on Xbox.
Ooh, don't tell me that.
So
I'll be on it right after the show, man.
I think it's actually on Game Pass.
Yeah. Oh. And now the rest of the evening's booked.
There you go.
All right.
And then last we have one from Twitter. Daddy Funk at Funks with It. I actually built my fiance a computer and slowly introduced her to PC games so we could spend more time together. Since I played a good bit of PC games at the time, now we look for games that we can both enjoy playing together. Man, that's like the perfect win right there. So
I think so.
Yeah, I'm also like super jelly. So that was a pretty good conversation there for our community topic. So props to anybody out there who's got significant others that love gaming, and for those of us that don't, I guess we just kind of have to keep on trucking, man.
We enjoy them other ways. It's okay.
Yeah. So that is true. So moving on, we got a little bit of housekeeping. Why don't you catch us up there, Mr. Owens?
Well, unfortunately, our technical glitches also came into Facebook and Discord, where I couldn't find any of our lists for our new members out there. So if you have joined the communities in Facebook and Discord, thank you very, very much. We appreciate it. We welcome you to the community. It's ever growing, and the fact that you're joining us and making it bigger and better is fantastic. If you would like to join our groups in Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/groups/thegocast. In Discord, you can go to thegamingoutside.com, and the link is in our show notes. We don't have any new iTunes reviews. Good or bad, guys, guys and gals, excuse me, on this Valentine's Day episode. Please give us those reviews. Any feedback on either side is always helping us, so please feel free to leave us a review on iTunes. And the latest written review we have from our very own Nate is Riverbond. So please check out our website, thegamingoutsider.com, to see what he had to say about that.
All right, well, let's go ahead and take a look at the games that we have been playing. So, Mr. Owens, what do we got for new games this week?
Well, we all know that it's a bit of a dry patch right now when it comes to games, but what is coming out is that Yakuza Remastered is coming to PS4 on February 10th, so actually, which is the day we're recording here, so by the time you guys are listening, you'll see it released. We actually have a few titles coming out on Valentine's Day. We have Darksiders Genesis, that'll be on the PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. We have the full version of Dreams coming out on PS4 that day. We have Snack World, the Dungeon Crawl. The gold version is coming to Switch. Street Fighter V Champion Edition is coming to PS4 and PC that day. Warriors Orochi 4 Ultimate is also coming to PS4 and the Switch on Valentine's Day. Any of those trip your trigger there, CB?
I'm probably eventually going to get around to playing Darksiders Genesis. I'm currently playing the first one, like off and on, so I kind of gotta get caught up with that series, because for me that's like a series that I would like to play through before I touch a new one.
Kind of off topic here, but did Scott tell you what I picked up on a trifold huge sale deal for like $40?
Mm-mm.
The entire Dark Souls franchise.
Oh, Dark Souls, nice.
I've heard of the brutality, and I kind of welcome it a little bit.
Yeah, I've got 1 and 2. I don't have 3. So
it was crazy. I got 1 remastered, 2 and 3 for like $45, which is like values was about $160, and I got it for $45.
That's not bad at all, man.
Mind blown. It was great. Can't wait to get into him. Then I'll kill him. So, well, CB, I think you're the king of the reviews this week, if you don't mind. I know you've been playing one called Seventh Sector, which looks like a Daft, what do you call it? Daft Punk type puzzle game. What are your thoughts on it?
It's an interesting game. I'm kind of hooked. So you play as a spark, and you are
a spark.
Yeah, it's
like a literal spark.
Yes, a literal spark. I'm not quite sure what you are in general, like, because there's points in the game where you will like enter a TV and you have like an outline of a humanoid figure, but it is a very dark puzzle game that you are traveling along like this electric wire, and you'll get to points in the game where you have to change to different wires through like transferring your electrical spark, and you have to solve puzzles. I like puzzle games. This has definitely had some interesting ones, but for me, like the biggest thing I'm loving about this game is all the hidden things in the game.
Hidden things.
There's some really, really dark themes in this game. There's actually a section where you pass by a bathroom with a body laying in a tub, and they kind of allude to certain things have happened. So it's interesting storytelling because there's no words to this game. Mm-hmm. So it's all left to your imagination, and you're just a spark. But it's a very dark world. It kind of reminds me of Little Nightmares.
Okay.
But I'm not that far. I want to say I'm about a third of the way through the game so far. And just the puzzles just keep ramping up in difficulty. And I'm currently stuck on one, and I'm trying to wrap my head around how to solve it. But I haven't had this much fun puzzle solving in a game in a while.
So what type of puzzles are we talking about? Because when you how the way you described it, the spark along the lines there, and I know I'm probably way off base, I think it kicks. You know, when you're drawing the blocks to eliminate them and trap your enemy and move on to the next level. Obviously, it's probably not anything like that. But what kind of puzzles are you solving?
So the majority of the game, you are traveling along like a power line, mm-hmm. and every now and then you'll come into a room, and the power line will like kind of dead end into like a switch, and you'll have to backtrack a little bit in the room and transfer your energy to another line to get to a light switch over here. And when you trip that light switch, it activates like another switch. And so you have to go back and like hit that switch.
Okay.
So there's just some complex puzzles, or like you'll have to enter into a TV. And when you enter into the TV, there's a series of buttons that you have to like click the buttons to make them add up to a certain number to trip the power switch so you can pass through.
Oh, okay.
So
interesting.
It's not overly difficult. It just takes a few minutes at each puzzle point to kind of wrap your head around like, okay, how do I progress further in the game?
Now, with progress, I would hope comes story as it evolves. Is there a good evolution, or is it still kind of trying to figure out where you are and what you're doing?
Like I said, I'm about a third of the way through the game, I think, and still trying to figure out what's going on.
Okay.
And like I said, the game leaves a lot to your imagination to kind of put pieces together to kind of figure out what's going on as you travel through this like very dark urban landscape.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay. Is this one you would recommend to the community?
If you're looking for a super in-depth story, I would say no, because again, how I perceive the story is going to be different than how you would. But if you love complex puzzles or simple puzzles, this is definitely a game that could be up your alley. Beyond that, I really couldn't tell you much. Mm-hmm. So I'm like I said, I'm still trying to figure this one out. It's It's a unique concept. I'll give it that.
Fair enough.
So,
all right. Well, that's Seventh Sector, developed by Sergei Noskov, and I'm glad you're into it like you are, Chris, and I hope you can soldier through. Now, you had a chance to play one other one, and I looked at it before the show, and I am kind of whoa when I kind of look at how this moves about, and that's Sky Rogue. What can you tell us about Sky Rogue?
I love this game.
And scene.
It's a roguelite. I've actually really found a roguelite that I enjoy immensely. So you were a plane, and it's simple polygon graphics, like nothing super flashy.
I was gonna say it looks like an extremely polished early Star Fox, not in space.
Yes, you could definitely say that. But like typical roguelites, you go until you die, and the farther you progress, the more you can unlock. This game has some of the cleanest, like just how you fly and fight in this game is impressive. Like I've played,
it looks smooth.
It is super smooth. I've played Ace Combat 7. I know Scott loves that game. I wasn't overly a fan of the controls. This game strips down the flight controls, makes it very simple, but it's not easy.
Okay, I gotta ask you: are you standard or inverted?
Depends on the game.
So okay.
I do like I push up on the stick, it goes up. I push down, it goes down. But
we're in the same boat.
But there are times where, like, if I'm flying like a helicopter in a game, I like the opposite, where if I pull back, you go up. So,
all right.
Just I never really thought that a game that looks so simple could be so much fun, especially on a modern console generation. I've probably put close to 15 hours into this game.
Really?
Yeah. It is.
Wow.
It is super addictive. Just progressing, because you start and there's basic missions like go in and destroy X number of this plane or destroy this building on the ground. You have 3 different weapons that you can carry. I carry like air-to-air missile, air-to-ground missile, rocket, and a gun. Beyond that, you can change it out. There's different types of missiles. There's different types of guns. There's different types of airplanes. Even I use just the standard airplane that it started with, but I've unlocked like a faster fighter, a bomber. I'm super impressed with what they could do. This game was cheap too. I paid less than $20 for this, and I'm having so much fun playing this. It's not like a super complex game either. And as you progress, like there's checkpoints. The first area is like a bunch of islands. The second one is like a desert setting. I believe when you progress further, there's like an ice setting. But to replay, like where some of the roguelike element comes in, to like, okay, I made it to the desert area. But to get back to the desert area, if I die, I have to spend points. To get some of those points, you have to take down certain types of enemies. So it's not like you can just go right back to the same spot and just keep playing through the campaign.
Right.
So I'm just very impressed. And I think there was one point I had like 15 different fighters coming after me at the same time, and they don't make it easy. But as the difficulty just ramps up in such a way that you're not overburdened in the beginning, because you really get used to the controls, and I'm really, really digging this game, man.
So there's not a huge high curve of ramp up. It takes you along slowly.
Yes, and with each level, like you can just fly straight in and do the mission and go back to your base, or you can just keep blowing up all their stuff, and the more you blow up, the more they send in at you.
Right.
So It's very, very well put together, clean and polished, and just super fun if you like roguelites or just aerial combat games.
Okay.
So I would recommend this to like anybody who's into those kind of things.
I am, and the way you were talking about it, what I've seen, I want it. It looks fantastic. It also gives me a bit of a Wind Waker vibe too, with the type of graphical scenes you see.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming with that.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, that's Sky Rogue, and it was made by Fractal Phase. I appreciate you take that on for us too, CB, and then it looks like I'll enjoy it myself. Well, that'll do it for new games we reviewed. Scott has been out, but did he tell you what he got into?
Well, I know he's been still deep into Skyrim. So
really, really deep.
Oh, yeah. So
he told me on Saturday night when we were hanging out, okay, he told me he's level 61 stealth.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
So
that's deep.
Well, that's how he plays games. So
true.
So, yeah, I mean, he's definitely been enjoying that. What about you? You've been playing anything recently? Catching up on some things?
Just I'm at the I forget what it's called, but one of the control objects that you have to fight, and I'm at the anchor. If anybody knows the point of the game where the anchor is, and such a fun monster, but such a pain in the neck. Oh my goodness! I have the hover power, and I'm doing the side missions because I like doing side missions in this kind of game. And the pattern is pretty simplistic, and the monster is pretty awesome. And what he throws at you is kind of expressed in ridiculum by the protagonist. But also you're kind of like, what? What is that? Okay, you just kind of go for it. But I have died 23 times now. So I'm having a little bit of trouble. So I want to get back in here to finally knock that out and move on to the next one.
Wait do you get to the mirror, man?
Oh, I've heard things. I've heard many things, and that's one of them.
It was a fun area. So
yeah. All right.
So, yeah, other than the new games I've been playing this week, I haven't really been playing anything old, surprisingly. Mm-hmm. So, just working on my game. Just working on my game collection. I may or may not have something big coming in the pipeline that'll be here by the end of the week. So,
knowing you as long as I have, now I get to go again.
Well, this one was... This is definitely a big one, so.
Well, I love you and your collection, my friend. Your rafters, I'm afraid I'm going to smack my head on those when I come over next.
We're about the same height. You're good.
Okay, so I'm going to be looking up when I walk.
So just got to watch out for the occasional game like falls down and like clips you in the head.
True. I knew that was going to be happening.
So yeah. Other than that, that's going to kind of do it for this episode. Any parting words for our listeners?
If I had words of wisdom, I would be a dummy. I'm glad that Chris Squared could get it done this week. I want to shout out one more time to Scott Clark and Zach Parkerson. I hope everything wellness and technology wise goes better for you guys, and we have you guys back real soon. Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely hoping Scott gets not sick. And Zach can solve some technical issues. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to say other than just be good humans. So yes, indeed. Thanks so much for listening. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Until next week, I'm Chris Berensmeyer with Chris Owens, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And just remember, there's no such thing as a bad game. Just games that aren't for you.